If you're a parent that is living with any children under the age of 17, then no, you are not crazy. Financially, you are probably struggling a lot more than most other people or most other families, at least in the United States. I was reading some articles this morning, and I'm going to link those articles down below in the description if you guys want to check them out. But it turns out that a lot of parents, a lot of people that have children under the age of 17, those are the people that are being the most heavily affected by inflation and rising prices and things like that. So I want to kind of describe how that is working here in the United States. If you are a parent and you have children under the age of 17, you're going to want to listen to this because it is definitely tougher out there for parents at the moment. So I was reading this article earlier this morning on the Wall Street Journal, and what this article was essentially talking about was the rising costs of child care, right? Now, obviously there are daycares, there are nannies, there are also lots of families that don't have any kind of formal childcare at all. So a large percentage of people that have children under the age of 17 aren't using any of those services. But for people who are, they are now starting to complain that it is more expensive to go the childcare route than it is to pay rent. And this is a big issue because, again, how are parents supposed to make it? They are all struggling. And when I say all, of course, I'm not talking about everybody. I'm just talking about a very large percentage of people who are feeling these effects of inflation. And again, this all comes down to why people don't believe the government when they're talking about how strong the economy is. They're talking about how awesome the jobs market is and how inflation is nowhere to be found, right? Yet you see everybody so pessimistic about the economy right now, mainly because of inflation and higher prices. So one of the statistics I was kind of reading is there was a survey that was done in 2022 and 2023. In 2022, 69% of parents that had children under the age of 17 said that they were doing okay financially, but then the year after in 2023, that percentage had dropped down closer to 64%, which means that going forward, more and more parents are starting to feel like they're not doing okay financially. Now, like I said, one of the reasons that that's happening is because the cost of childcare is going up so much. I mean, think about it. And especially because here in America, we have a lot of single parents, a lot of single mothers, a lot of single fathers. And so when you have only one parent, it becomes even more difficult because you have to work, you have to go you have to work and earn money. Yet if you have kids that are staying at home, they either have to go to daycare, you have to get someone to watch them. You can't just leave them back home alone. So obviously that comes with a huge cost, and childcare is extremely expensive. Now, in this article, what I thought was interesting is that they were giving kind of a quote. You know how they kind of give like a percentage of your income that you should be spending on certain things. Like they'll say, don't spend more than 20 or 30% of your total income on housing, and don't spend more than 10% on a vehicle, and don't spend blah, 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 blah. So for childcare, the recommendation is to spend about 7% of your total income on childcare. That's considered reasonable to fund childcare and to be able to pay for that. So in other words, if you're making $100,000 a year, right? And I'm just picking that number because it's a simple math equation. If we take 7% of that, we're looking at $7,000 per year, right? That's a little bit less than $1,000 a month. So we're talking, what would that be? 12,000 over, I'm not going to try to do the math right now. You guys are going to get bored. But you have literally, those are kind of the costs that you're looking at, right? But if you earn $50,000 a year, then it's going to be half of that, right? You have 7% of $100,000 is $7,000 a year. But if you take half of that, if you earn $50,000 a year, you're looking at paying about $3,500 per year on childcare. Now, I don't know if you guys have seen the prices of what a childcare facility looks like. For single children, it really depends on where you live. I live here in Florida. A single child for daycare can be anywhere from $250 all the way up to even $400 per month. So it can get very expensive. And again, that's only if you have one kid. Most people have more than one child. You have 2, 3 kids, and then that gets very expensive. So how is this really gonna work? because people go out, they work, they're earning money, but then a lot of the money that they're earning, they have to spend on childcare. Because like I said, the recommendation was that 7% of the income should be spent on childcare, but in reality, the number is actually a lot closer to 24%. I mean, what a huge difference, what a massive gap. 7% recommendation, 24% in reality. So people who are earning $100,000 actually are spending about $24,000 per year on childcare. I mean, think about how insane that is. And so, like I said, the prices on childcare are just going up. Now, childcare businesses themselves are not very profitable. The profit margins on a childcare business is very, very small. So when they're raising prices and stuff like that, that's probably because their costs have gone up. I mean, the cost of labor is higher, the cost of insurance on the building is higher, the cost of rent on the building is higher. So the costs of these daycares are going up, so therefore the prices that consumers pay also have to go up. And since these businesses already have such small, thin profit margins, there's not really a lot they can do to absorb any of these inflationary price hikes. So this is why I feel pretty bad about this situation, because again, the whole American dream entails having a family, working a job, providing for that family, and having a happy, fulfilling life by doing things you love and spending time with the family too, right? I mean, this is another big thing is one of the big incentives, right, that we have, or one of the biggest things I would say that we want as humans is leisure time. Right? I mean, this is why we all get so excited about retirement. We plan years and years and years in advance for retirement, because retirement is just relaxing. You get to relax. You don't have to worry about working. You just get to spend time enjoying your life, right? This is because inherently leisure is valuable to human beings. We want leisure. We don't want to work all day. So it doesn't matter if you have a beautiful family. If you're working all the time and you can't ever spend any time with that family, then what's going on, right? I mean, the whole point is that you have a nice, beautiful family and you can spend time with them as well. But that's very hard to do if prices are going up so rapidly that people have to get 2 or 3 jobs and be working all the time. And like I said, when you have childcare costs going up, you see people spending 24% of their income on childcare costs. That is putting us all in a very, very difficult spot, because you still have to pay rent or your mortgage. You still have to pay insurance and cell phone bills, and you might have a balance on your credit card. So all of these things start to add up. But the one thing that I'm starting to wonder now is it too expensive to have children in the United States? I mean, if people can't afford to have kids anymore, then people are going to just simply stop having them, right? Or else people are going to start having a lot of children, and then they grow up in poverty, and it's not a fun situation, right? I mean, obviously, we only want the best for our children. We only want to set them up with the best, most successful lives possible. That's what we do as parents. But obviously, if it's just plain and simple too expensive to have children, then I predict people are no longer going to want to have families, right? This is why we start to see these acronyms. I don't know if you guys have seen this before, but they are now starting to, come up with these acronyms. Like one of them is a DINKWAD, right? A double income with no kids and a dog, right? People are literally replacing kids with dogs because it's much cheaper, much less responsibility. And again, you don't have to pay these extremely expensive childcare costs. So again, guys, I think that this is yet another sign. This is why you see people not feeling very optimistic about the economy. You don't really see people thinking that inflation is getting better, despite what the government keeps telling us, despite all these reports that show improvement. People are not buying it, because when they actually go and get their paycheck and pay for all the things that they have to pay for, all their expenses, the mortgages, the credit cards, all that stuff I mentioned earlier, childcare on top of that, they don't have any money left over. And so people can't save. People can't go do things they want to do because they're constantly finding themselves at work or trying to find more work or trying to do more to make more money, because these higher prices are really starting to affect people. Guys, go check out the other videos that I've already put out on this channel. You guys can see that people who used to shop at Whole Foods are going to Walmart now. Even the upper income, the higher earners in society are starting to feel the effects of higher prices and inflation. And so it's not just working class people. It's not just people who are earning less than $100,000. This is most people are starting to feel the effects of inflation. And when you start to see the wealthier top earners that are starting to feel the effects of inflation, and even they start scaling back on the spending, because remember, the rich people are the ones that are going to fuel the spending even when other people cut back because of the higher prices. Because inflation is less of a big deal for wealthier individuals. In other words, you don't typically see a lot of change in consumer spending with higher earners, even with elevated levels of inflation. You typically don't see that. So whenever you see a slowdown from the working class because there's higher prices and they want to save more money, or in other words, they don't want to spend as much money, then typically you still see the upper 1%, the upper 10% of earners usually is we still don't really see that much of a difference in their economic activity. So they're able to kind of help keep the economy afloat while other people are adjusting. So that's historically what we see. But now we're starting to see even upper income earners are starting to also feel the effects of inflation. And that could be really bad, because if they start scaling back their spending, then obviously the GDP is going to slow. You guys have already seen the retail sales numbers are basically hitting 0.0%. So we're not even growing anymore, even though we have higher prices. So that's why I tell you guys, economic activity is definitely slowing down. And all of these indicators are pointing towards the fact that we're probably going to have a recession, right? If not now, probably sometime in 2025 is what I would predict. I don't think that they're going to allow a recession during an election year. As I've told you guys before, I just don't think that's going to happen. But I do think that based on all of these signals that we're getting, that we definitely are seeing a slowdown, right? So let me know though in the comments down below, if you're a parent, you have a child under 17 or maybe 2 or 3 of them, and I want to know what you're doing for childcare. I want to know if you're paying a lot, or if you go to a daycare, if you have a nanny, did the costs go up? Is it more expensive for you? Maybe you're starting, you understand exactly what I'm talking about here. Maybe you have no idea what I'm talking about, but I want to know about your experience down below in the comments. I love reading the comments. You guys teach me so much stuff too as well, because I think the other day I made a video about Whole Foods and stuff like that, and Aldi, right? And being from the West Coast, we did not have Aldi. And then I came over here to Florida and they're just all over the place. And so in the video, I called it Aldi's with an S at the end. And someone corrected me and said, it's not plural, it's Aldi. And someone else told me it's the sister company of Trader Joe's. So I learned all kinds of this. That's why I love making these videos. You guys teach me so much stuff that I didn't even know, because again, I'm just a guy from Oregon. I know nothing about Aldi, Aldi's, whatever you want to call it. We did have Trader Joe's, but not an Aldi. But anyways, I learned so much from your guys' comments. So I want to listen and hear about your experiences with childcare down below in the comments. And guys, also, by the way, because we're starting to feel these effects of inflation, what I'm starting to do is invest into the stock market. That's how I can stay away, or that's how I can stay ahead of inflation, because I know that inflation is completely destroying our buying power. But if you're invested into things like stocks or bonds or other types of assets that appreciate at a higher rate than what the inflation rate is, then you're still earning and making more money. So that's the whole goal. And that's what I teach people to do. If you're a beginner, don't worry about it. If you're somebody that doesn't have a lot of experience, join my online investing club. That's where I teach you guys step by step the strategies that I use to position myself in the stock market during each and every single market cycle. And so you guys will learn all about that and how I can make money even when the market is struggling. That's a big thing, is a lot of people only know how to make money in the stock market when it's doing well. Well, I can teach you guys different strategies that you can use no matter what the market is doing. That's why I think it's so critical. And again, the longer and longer you wait to get invested, the harder it's going to be for you to actually build some wealth. So that's why I tell you guys on every single video, go click the link down below in the description, check out the online investing club, see if it's something that makes sense for you. And if you have any questions, you can always ask. That being said, I'll see you guys in the next video. Thank you so much for tuning in.